Alright, so what do we have here? Something new and interesting, and I think because I've seen that a lot of people have bought this kind of printer with this white casing, could be an interesting and useful information for them and some others, because it has it's a UV printer which has 1319 motherboard installed inside, or let's say it's based on 1390. And what's wrong with this? Well, basically you can't even start it up. So if you turn on the main switch, all right, so some fans turn on, but and this control board for the flatbed, so I guess that's pretty much yeah, functional. Where's the stop button? All right, so that's pretty much functional, but now if you wanna start the printer up, the Epson itself, nothing happens. And I'm not sure if you can hear it, but there's a signal coming from the motherboard. It's like a couple of seconds between the sound that it's making, and it's making that sound when you burn the motherboard. So if we wanna check if everything else besides that is okay with the printer, we should at least replace, for the time being, replace the motherboard. And at the moment I think we're gonna use 1400 because that's the same board, but for the different market. And if the resetter over here is automatic, we should be able to reset the inks with a bit more different board. But that's the first thing we're gonna have to do, and send the board which is inside original, which we're gonna put back after we repair it. But for the time being we have to have a printer functional with another board, so we can check to see if the head is okay. And I can see that these dampers over here are already replaced, and there's some additional tubing over here, so probably that's done by the owner himself. But as you can see, I don't know why people are trying to replace head and stuff that don't have anything to do with the power supply, because there's obvious problem with the power supply and the motherboard, or the motherboard itself. So you don't have to go for the head. Yeah, you can see that the head was the brake is down, so you can pull out the head carrier over here. So I'm guessing that the head has only been put back inside, and now something is wrong with the motherboard. But you cannot install head inside if you didn't fix the engine of the printer, so to speak. So yeah, first we're gonna have to take off this top cover. I don't know how that is removed. We're gonna have to figure that out. Couple of covers, and Maybe you can hear the sound from over here because the fan is overpowering with the noise, the sound that is coming from the motherboard. I don't know if you can hear it, but probably if we lift up this panel over here, we should be able to hear the sound from the motherboard. But yeah, if you hear a short beep and in between the beeps there's pause of, let's say, 3 seconds, I think, or 2 seconds maybe, that's the problem with the motherboard. So first we have to put some spare motherboard inside to get everything up and running. Of course we do have to repair that one as well, but for the time being, so we can do checks of other stuff and maybe even do some test prints to see if the head is okay. And all else we have to put another motherboard. Let's see if this is gonna help. So yeah, that's a pretty unpractical cover there. So I'm just gonna get close to the motherboard so you might be able to hear something here. Beep, beep. All right, I think you can hear it now. But yeah, this is the motherboard, and we have to turn everything off and pull it out and install a temporary motherboard to see if all else is in order. So we got the printer open from this side as well, so there's a couple of things I should definitely pull out the motherboard that is inside, but also a couple of things I should do here with the head. I need to check if there's any burn on the cable, and that's gonna tell me if something happened here, something was short-circuited over here, or something happened with the board itself. My guess is that I don't know, it either the old head was cleaned with something, with alcohol or something, and it went to the cable, because I can see there's some spills over here, and I don't know how the cyan got on this cable over here. So some experiments were done here, but I'm gonna check a couple of things before we install a new head inside. So maybe we should start with the motherboard itself. Let me just find the wires over here. We have to cut this thing off to get the cables out. So there's one zip tie that is holding everything together. So one cable got unplugged already, so yeah, I gotta plug everything off or out of the motherboard. And what's interesting is that this power supply is actually from an older model. I can identify that by this wider connector, which is actually supplying a lot of couple of different things. That's why on the motherboard, that's why the cable is wider than the newer ones. Okay, so it's a bit uncomfortable here because this piece goes right over the motherboard where you need to connect the cables. Yeah, I'm thinking I should maybe mark these, at least these 3 cables over here, so I don't mix things up, although it's pretty difficult to mix them up. But since we are doing this printer for the first time, maybe it would be advisable to mark at least this left side, which is a bit more harder to identify. So simple marks 1, 2, 3. It's even hard to write the number on the cable. All right. Okay, so those are the, which one is this? This would be number 4. Let me just see. Yeah, these are the cables that are going to the head, so those are pretty simple to identify. So this would be 4, 5, 6, and 6, and this would be cable 7, which is for the resetting of the cartridges. And we don't have this if the printer would be, we don't have this on L1800, but we have it here. All right, so cables are out, and now we need to unscrew the board, and I'm gonna need a bit wider screwdriver. Okay, but before we try it with another board, we should put in the test print head, because there might be a problem with the electronics on the new board that is installed at the moment, or something is wrong with the way that the owner connected the head. Maybe some pins are twisted or bent or something like that. So that's the first thing we're gonna have to check, so we can identify where the problem is. Probably this looks like a pretty new head because it's not dirty at all. So this might be a good opportunity to see if the head is gonna burn the motherboard. We're gonna try to install one motherboard which already has a problem on it, but a different kind of problem, not like this one. So if we burn it, it won't be much of a problem, but of course both of those problems can be fixed. I just don't want to burn fully functional motherboard. So as you can see, this is pretty unpractical to get put all of these screws over here, and maybe I need a shorter screwdriver this time. Alright, so that's already, we call that a flaw in the design. So if you cannot unscrew the motherboard, which is typically what you're gonna have to do more than once, then this is not a good position. Maybe this could be placed here in the design, but then the motherboard should be bit more forward or a bit more to the back or something like that, but this now is very unpractical to replace. Okay, so what else? We have this USB connected over here. Of course, we're gonna have to pull that out as well. So this would be the motherboard. All right, so let's see. Let's see what's the condition of the head itself. All right, so I can tell that the head has been replaced because the bracket over here is broken. Should be same as this one. And usually what you do, you cut this thing off in order to pull it up, pull this plastic up a bit more easier. All right, so let's see, we got 3 screws, and we should put keep the dampers on the head because we don't wanna have it drying on air. But 2 are reachable, and 1 is gonna have to be temporarily moved so I can get to the screw. All right, so now I should be able to lift the whole thing up, and let's see if there's gonna be any burns over here. My guess is that the ink or the alcohol, something like that, has already been dripping over the head. So could be that we're gonna find some burns, but cannot really tell. I can see that there's some cyan over here on this edge maybe, but I don't think that's much of ink, so this seems pretty good to me as it is. I don't think that the problem has happened here, and I don't think that even the head has started at all or been filled. So could be that there's something wrong with the electronics on the head, but we cannot prove that. Could be also that something is wrong with the power supply over here and also on the head, the motherboard itself. So yeah, we're gonna put the test print head. That's the head which is clogged, but we know for sure that the electronics are functional on the head. And then we're gonna replace the, there you can see that these thorns over here are dry. That's because the owner had to pull out the air from these new dampers until the ink went to the damper and filled the damper. So that's not done by the user. And these others are dirty because these ones are the old dampers, and also these ones will be, these thorns on the left will be also not really, these are probably new as well. Or the third option is that the printer has never been properly de-aerated, or that's a difficult word, or the air hasn't been pulled out from the damper at all the way it's supposed to be. So that's a lot of different possibilities how this has happened, but we're gonna try with another test print head. And that would be, we got one over here, and I don't know what this was. I'm guessing it was DTF by the looks of it. Let me just check if I have one that is used with the UV. This is also a DTF. Okay, so doesn't really matter. It will all be the same. All right, so let's see. Yeah, most of them are for the DTF because DTF is at the moment used by everyone. Okay, let's see with this one. This is gonna be just the test head. We just want to get it operational and isolate all the other problems if there are any on the printer. But usually from our experience, and we've been doing printers since, especially 6-channel printers, we've been doing printers since 2007, so we had a quite durable experience during years, and a lot of stuff we've learned on the way. So this is also turned other way around, but we won't be changing that right now. And usually this is a rare situation to, these dampers are kind of tight in the place. Rare situation that new head burns the motherboard, because often there is something that is that the owner forgets to install, something like that, or it washes the head too much with the alcohol. So you must know what you're doing if you're washing the head, or they wash the head with the power turned on and stuff like that. So all of that is gonna make the printer pretty vulnerable, let's say. It also needs a bit of a lubrication, especially these models have to be lubricated because I don't know why that is, but these white casing printers, they don't have additional fans over here on the front, and that's why, like such as this one, because then the mist of the ink when the printer is printing, if it's not pulled out by the fans, or we don't have them installed at all, because sometimes we had a problem with where their fans were not working, the power was cut off. So the same thing is with this. Here we don't have any kind of fans to pull out the mist, and the mist gets stuck to the main shaft, and it wastes the rings on the carrier over here. So it has to be lubricated pretty frequently. So I'm just gonna add a bit now. And also this printer still has this rings on the carrier, which are good for the time being. I mean, these rings over here, but especially if the printer doesn't have any fans on the front, they're gonna cause, during time, they're gonna cause problems. But yeah, since I would say it's a pretty new printer, because I don't see it. It's not that dirty. The capping station is not dirty almost at all. This hasn't been put into work the way it's supposed to be. I don't know why that is. Maybe the owner didn't have any experience with these types of printers before, so it was kind of hard for him. So what else can we do? We can remove this net over here from the capping, which is not necessary. It only will collect ink on the top of these thorns. And there's also spring missing over here, but we have a spare spring somewhere, but we're also gonna have to look for it if it's somewhere in there. If we cannot find it, because that's gonna be very difficult, we're just gonna put another spring over here. So you have net, which is not necessary, and you don't have spring, which is pretty advisable to have. Of course, this could go without spring as well, but it's good to have it. So we're just gonna hook up another one over here. We have that as a spare part. What else can we do here? We have lubricated. The encoder is messed up over here. I'm guessing that whatever has dropped here on the cable has dropped on the encoder as well. So if the marks on the encoder are busted, the printer won't initialize at all. So we didn't get to that position to try that as well, but this has to be cleaned off as well. So I'm just gonna try to clean it off with a bit of an alcohol. I think it should be, because it's not that big of a smudge. But yeah, if you have this thing covered with ink, it's not gonna be good. The printer won't be able to start at all. And while I'm at it, I might as well clean this cable as well. All right, so I think we can put in some other motherboard inside, and also this is a wire from the cable. This can also cause a short circuit on the motherboard. Alright, so the other side of the encoder is pretty good. Okay, so you've already seen how the motherboard is pulled out. I'm just gonna put in some also a test motherboard, and we're gonna try to turn it on, and we're gonna see if we cannot turn the printer on even with the new motherboard, then that's gonna be a problem with the power supply. But let's just see what's gonna happen first. All right, so some of these pins are a bit bent, but they're okay. And what else I'm noticing at the moment, there's a screw missing over here. I don't know why that is. There's only these screws in the middle, but I think it's good to have, because you already have a hole on this carrier for the tubes. I think we should put one screw over here as well, just for the safety. Is gonna have a bit more sturdiness, so we're gonna do that as well somewhere on the way. And let's just see what's gonna happen when we put in the spare motherboard.